All right, here we are again. Well, not again because it's been like a month and a half since I uploaded anything, and that's my fault. But Narratives Arcana, Section 2. There was two flaws that I noticed with the price delivery cycles, in which we'll be obviously going over that in this video. Not necessarily a flaw in the model, but just a couple things I missed with price delivery cycles, in which I'm glad I have not made a standalone video of price delivery cycles yet. We'll primarily be going over price delivery cycles and then going over some examples with the model again. But I just have to, teach you these two flaws so you won't get messed up with the model and using it. So you remember how Asia normally consolidates? That's what it's normally supposed to do, right? Normally, because as you can see, it consolidates right here. It's normally supposed to do that. Sometimes how it doesn't do that, as we see, you know, over here. Yeah, that's one of the flaws I'm going to be talking about and how you can leverage it to actually get your narrative you're supposed to get with this model. And then there's another thing too. Um, you know how price can like expand like crazy in the previous New York session? Like just dropping, like just dropping, dropping, dropping. So something like this. Like just drop, 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 drop. And it's just keep going through the floor. What Asia can do sometimes, right, is it can continue that expansion and not even have a consolidation with the price delivery cycles. Yes, it can use the previous New York sessions expansion to just keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, and not even have a consolidation. Because normally price delivery cycle starts with consolidation, then expansion. But Asia can skip out on that if New York continuously expands, like just expands, 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 expands. If Asian chooses to do so, sometimes it won't do it, sometimes it won't. Okay, sometimes they do it and sometimes it won't. But majority of the time, if New York or the last portion of New York is just expanding, 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 blah, 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 you get the point. Asian would normally continue that expansion and not even have a consolidation at all. I just said that 3 times so I can drill it into your head. Okay, you got it. Okay, just making sure. Now, the first part we're going to be going over is how Asian can use the previous New York session's consolidation as the initial consolidation for a price delivery cycle. Because normally, Asian will start the price delivery cycle by consolidating, right? But Asia can actually refer to New York's price action, as we can see here. This is part of New York right there. That's what's look at the time at the bottom, 12:30. What's that, like 12:30 to literally market close? Yeah, so that's New York. New York, or the last portion of New York, consolidates for a good minute. And it does when I say consolidate, I don't mean just like if I can get my brush wherever it is. I don't mean like something like this. Not something small. Something like this. Like a decent consolidation. I'll say since we're on the 15-minute, I'll give it about 3-4 hours worth of consolidation. And then you can consider Asian possibly using New York's price action or New York's consolidation as a consolidation for price delivery cycles. Had a little brain fog there. But looky here, looky here. The last portion of New York consolidates for 6 hours, in which Asian is like, oh, we already consolidated before. What do I need to consolidate for? I don't got to do all that. So Asian is like, okay, bet. Let's expand higher, purge buy side, reach a deep premium, in which we top out here, in which London consolidates again, creating another price delivery cycle. We'll go over that. We'll go over that in a minute, but I'm just mainly focusing on this price delivery cycle that starts in the last portion of New York, which is like New York close or New York PM or New York afternoon, whatever you call it. So again, consolidation, expansion. We top out here in London. London consolidates, has a lack of displacement going past this high, purges some internal buy side, sells off. What's this? This is what stage is this? We just went over consolidation and expansion. What stage is this? Reversal. Yeah, it's the reversal. I taught you this in the section 1 of the Narratives Arcana when I hit 1,000 subscribers. So, oh yeah, going over the second price delivery cycle because I'm trying to still teach you about the flaw, but still go over examples of price delivery cycles or just the model in general. So here's the second price delivery cycle it created while being in another one, which started over here. Consolidated, expanded lower, in which I think the last portion of pre-market and then the opening at 9:30 retraced into pre-market's expansion lower, in which the rest of New York continued going lower, according to this price delivery cycle and this price delivery cycle here. So that was just flaw 1, in which we do have another flaw to go over, which is we went over the consolidating before Asia even occurs. Now we have to go to New York or Asia continuing in expansion. I'm going to keep that in. continuing an expansion that occurs at the last portion of New York, or basically during previous price action that occurred in New York. So let's see if I can even find an example of that. That's gonna be decently hard because that scenario is, well, I think I just found an example right now. Here we go. So as you can see here, looking at New York, what's this? The final hour macro or something like that? Yeah, sometimes it doesn't even have to occur in New York. Sometimes before Asia even opens up, which is at 7, it can start expanding like at 6 o'clock when Nasdaq reopens. It can like continue expanding. That can happen. So looking here, we have the expansion here in which Asian opened up, continued the expansion, retraced a little bit, and then continued this expansion even more. Since this has happened, price does not need to consolidate here in Asia. It doesn't, because why would it consolidate if we're already at expansion in the price delivery cycles and consolidation is before expansion? Why would we need to interrupt price, or why would price need to interrupt itself by consolidating, even though we've already expanded? You know what I'm saying? So Asia, like I said before, price is a lazy bum. It doesn't want to do too much. If it doesn't have to, it's not going to do it. So Asia is like, okay, fine, I'm not going to do it then, and it's just going to sit here and expand. Since we've expanded, what's the next two things we can do? We can either reverse. Listen here. We can either reverse or retrace. What do we do? Well, obviously, JJ, we retrace because we drop down and then we drop, well, not drop, but retrace back up into the expansion lower. So now what we have to do now is continue the expansion lower since we retraced and drop lower, right? Does that happen? Yeah, it does. It does happen. It really does. I'm going to try to find two more examples of each flaw. Well, not two more examples of each flaw, but one more example of each flaw. So let's see if I can find. Oh, no, never mind. Here's another one right here. So this is a gap down, which is still a form of an expansion. Okay, so it doesn't have to be multiple candles expanding lower, but since this is a gap down, it's still an expansion lower. So, well, not even. It gapped down and then kept going lower after it gapped down. So this is still basically a textbook expansion. Anyway, we expanded lower, boom, off open. Before Asia comes in, we retrace a little bit into this gigantic fair value gap, or really just gap in general. And then we start expanding, 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 expanding. And then after that, we reverse. Right here at that point, we reverse. Yoop, we reverse. So if price has expanded and reversed, according to, let's say we woke up at this time right there. We were looking at previous price action, and it's like, okay, it doesn't clearly doesn't want to go any lower because it expanded lower, not with too much displacement, basically just continuing the previous expansion. And now it's reversing higher, disrespecting all bullish confluences, all bullish arrays that were sitting right here, and clearly has a willingness to go higher. What is going to happen next? It's going to go higher. Duh. When New York opens, it's going to go higher because Asia has already offered the manipulation by simply continuing the expansion lower from the previous gap down or previous expansion lower, and is simply continuing it so we can offer manipulation and proper expansion during New York. Well, really, you get what I'm saying, but the expansion is here, but for the whole day's narrative to play out, it has to expand or deliver the narrative during New York. That's a better way to put it. So, one more time. We expand lower, continue the expansion during Asia. We reverse right here during Asia, actually, which is the funny part. So we do two things. We expand lower or continue the expansion during Asia, then we reverse. London consolidates. Oh, wow, I didn't even notice that. Well, we started another price delivery cycle. London consolidates, jumps higher. So this is the expansion right here, in which pre-market kind of, well, no, it did. It retraced into London's expansion here, or outside of London, in which when 9:30 opened up, we jumped higher. All right, so let's find one more example of the flaw of when, not necessarily a flaw, but we're resolving this flaw now. So basically fixing the flaw. Well, let's find one more example of when price uses New York's consolidation or Asian uses New York's consolidation. Let me see if I can find that anywhere. Oh, yep, I think does it happen here? Kind of, sorta. Kinda, sorta. Also, one thing I forgot to mention is if New York consolidates, or the last portion of New York consolidates, or basically, previous price action consolidates, Asia can sometimes even continue that consolidation and elongate it to where London will start the expansion. It can do that. It doesn't have to always expand and do all that crazy stuff in Asia. If Asia wants to be a lazy bum and continue the consolidation, you're going to see it. So just keep that in mind. It doesn't have to expand after previous price action consolidates. This is a pretty weird example. I'm not going to lie. Just looking at the market structure and how it's moving, but clearly we can see the last portion of New York consolidated quite a bit. We dropped down a little bit, and then, but this is still a consolidation. I wouldn't even consider this a drop down. It's moving back and forth, moving back and forth for about what's that, 6 hours? About that, 5 hours, something like that. In which, look here, in which Asian expands, in which in the same kill zone, we retrace down without breaking that swing. Okay, what's that swing? That's the low of Asia. Low of Asia, and very, very close. Well, basically equal with the low of the entire consolidation. So keep that in mind. There's certain price signatures that's right in your face that you're probably not going to notice that is telling you that price has either expanded, retraced, or when it did retrace, it doesn't want to violate any bullish confluences that we may have. That's what this was right here. It's spiking down, not hitting this or this, and then closing back above. That's a pretty strong confluence. Very, very strong confluence. It doesn't want to show any willingness to go lower, instead showing willingness to go higher. A lot of willingness too. So after the consolidation, we expanded in the same kill zone, we retraced, then we consolidated again right outside of Asia and then going into London, in which London expanded, consolidated again, and then expanded, and then jumped higher. So basically, what happened here, it was a lot of consolidation, a lot of back and forth movement. Because sometimes, if you see consolidations back to back when it comes to price delivery cycles, like for example, you got the initial consolidation, the first one that starts the original price delivery cycle for the rest of the day. This one right here, you have the retracement, then you have the what's the word? I mean, you have the expansion, then you have the retracement, and then you see another consolidation, it expands, then you see another consolidation. Once you see about 3 consolidations, don't even try to depict or pay attention to any other price delivery cycles because those are likely not price delivery cycles, just price building up liquidity for when 9:30 opens up, it just shoots through the roof, and that's exactly what happens here. It just jumps through the roof. So whenever you see multiple like I can't really explain it, but it's like they're just placed by hand. You can like grab a sticker and just place it on a chart. That's kind of what it looks like here. Like if you look, these two right here just looks like they're manually put there. You get what I'm saying? And that's basically what's happening. The algorithm is manually pushing buttons, executing code. I said code, executing code, and literally consolidating on purpose. So when 9:30 opens up, it can shoot to the roof. That's that's literally what's happening. That's what's happening. So hope you understood that pretty well. The 2 flaws, you should now have that down packed. Now let's go over just 1 week, just 1 week. So this manipulation template that we had was, I think, a Wednesday high of week in which I did call this in the Discord some time ago. I think I called it like around either on Wednesday or like Tuesday's price action, something like that. But let me go to this here and grab the Wednesday high of week. Should be around here somewhere. Oh, yep, there it is. Copy image, go back, bam, bam. There we go. Now we got the Wednesday high of week. Here we go. Put it nice and large in the corner. Wait, can't I anchor it? Didn't I figure out a way to like anchor it to my screen? Do you guys remember that? I forgot how I did it. I guess it doesn't matter. I'll just keep it right here. You can always refer back to it. Okay. So this is going to be the example or the week we go over, and I'll be in this video here. This is going to be some very raw footage. So if you're reached into this video, it's going to be very, very raw. If you hear any stutters, don't complain. Just watch. There's a lot of knowledge you're getting from this. So right off the bat, let's jump to the 15-minute because very, very nice, balanced time frame, I'll say myself. So looking at Monday, we expand, in which Asian continues. Look at this. This is a flaw that we just learned, or a characteristic of price delivery cycles we just learned. It expands higher, in which Asia kicks in, continues the expansion higher, in which price does not need to consolidate. So if it does, it's likely not a price delivery cycle. London retraces back into the expansion. So what's next? Price must deliver higher, right? And it does. It delivers, it delivers, it delivers, it delivers, in which pre-market delivers that expansion too. So since pre-market did that, that's going to send New York into a pretty crazy consolidation. I feel like if I pull out my phone and scan that right now, it'll probably send me to some URL that gives me a virus. That's how weird this is looking. This looks like a barcode. Close enough, right? But you get the point. Asia continued a previous expansion from the what's that? The new week opening, the Sunday opening, in which London kicked in, retraced. So what's there to do next? Since it retraces, we have to then continue the expansion higher. We expand, 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 expand. The two sessions that are supposed to consolidate. I don't have London lunch marked right here, but it's like from 5 to 7 right there. That's London lunch. The two sessions that are supposed to be consolidating aren't consolidating. They're instead expanding the or continuing the expansion that formed around here. So what that's going to do, since the sessions that are not, Jesus Christ, I'm keeping that in. Reminder, keeping that in. But since the sessions that are supposed to consolidate aren't consolidating, that's likely going to send what into a consolidation? New York. I've taught you this before. When pre-market moves, London sleeps. I mean, New York sleeps. Jesus Christ, I'm having a lot of brain fog. You hear how many times I'm stuttering or saying the wrong terms? That's my bad. Anyway, Monday is bullish. Okay, according to the Wednesday higher week, Monday's supposed to drop, but it doesn't necessarily have to do that. It just has to create a short-term high. In which, if we look back at Monday, it does create that short-term high right there, or right there, whatever high you want to use. It still creates that short-term high. So here's where the contract switch happens. We open up for Tuesday. This is not, since this is a singular gap up, and after the gap up, it didn't expand. What Asia is likely going to do is consolidate. Okay, because just a gap up in general, it's not expanding. It's just literally teleporting from one price to another. So this isn't price expanding. It in this area, it's not moving. It's not moving. It's teleportation. You're probably like, isn't teleportation a form of movement? No, I mean like literally taking. You get what I'm saying. I don't have to explain it, but it's not actually moving here. It's just teleporting and not expanding. So that's why Asia consolidated here. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. In which we expand lower. Boom. Then we reverse. What's there to do next? There's nothing else to do because with price delivery cycles, we consolidate, expand, and do what? We either reverse or retrace. In which in this case, we reverse higher. So what's there to do? Deliver higher, in which pre-market actually delivers higher. So since pre-market does that delivery, what's going to happen to New York? New York is likely going to consolidate. And here is where I first went over the example of when Asia can use what's the word? Asia can use previous price action, or basically in this case, not even in this case, in every case, since Asian is right after New York PM, is going to use New York's consolidation to expand. So, oh yeah, I forgot to go over the closure of Tuesday, but Tuesday closes higher. So, what's supposed to happen there? What's supposed to happen around Tuesday or after Tuesday? We're supposed to create the Wednesday high of week, right? Listen here, listen here. New York consolidates. Asia's like, okay, fine. I'm not going to do it then. Let's just go ahead and expand higher, be lazy. Purge buy side liquidity. We keep going, expand, 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 expand. Then we top out right there at London. London consolidates a little bit more, having a lack of displacement going past that high. Zooming in, we start reversing. Okay, we expanded higher. Now we're reversing lower for the rest of the day, in which pre-market again for some reason expands 200. Well, no, 300 points. I don't know. I still don't know why it did this. I'm studying pre-market as we speak, not as we speak, but outside of while you're watching this video, I'm studying pre-market. Like if you're watching this video in the future, I'm studying pre-market to see why price has been doing this recently because pre-market has been moving pretty stupid amount recently. But anyway, we begin another price delivery cycle right here in which we fail to go higher. So this price delivery cycle is still in confluence because it's being shown right here. We have a lack of displacement going higher in which we reverse for this price delivery cycle that started with this consolidation over here, in which this consolidation started a secondary price delivery cycle. So consolidation, consolidation, consolidation. We drop, that's that expansion right there, in which the last portion of pre-market going into the 930 opening retraced into this expansion right here that started at this secondary price delivery cycle. We retrace here, in which what does New York have to do? All New York has to do is expand lower because there's nothing else it can do. We've already offered manipulation higher by expanding higher and reaching a deep premium. We've already consolidated. We've already expanded lower. Now what's there to do? Just retrace and keep going lower. In which, for some reason, normally when you would see pre-market act that crazy, yeah, you would see if it acts that crazy, like 300 points, you would see the whole AM session consolidate. In which does that even happen? Hold on, where? Let me see. Does a whole AM session consolidate? Yeah, it actually does. So yeah, I am right about that. So when you see pre-market acting that crazy, like over 100, not I'll say over 200 points, wait for the entire, and I say the entire AM session or the entire New York session. Just wait it out. Don't even trade it. Okay, because I don't do that. I don't try to catch the 50-point moves, the 40-point moves, 25-point moves, 80-point moves. No, I catch the 300 pointers, 200 pointers. I catch the whole day's move. I'm not like the small scalping type person. I don't like doing that. I like getting in once, finding that perfect entry, and trailing my stop down. And when if I get stopped out, I catch 200 points. You get the point. But the first portion of New York, which is AM, consolidates, in which New York PM continues that what's that? That expansion lower that we had during pre-market, in which that was the whole narrative starting from this price delivery cycle and this price delivery cycle, in which we created the Wednesday high of week during this price delivery cycle in the form of a reversal, which is, if I pull this over, if I can, hello, if I can pull it, it's, oh, it's locked, duh. But here we go. If I can pull it over, you see what I'm talking about. We expand. Let me turn the kill zones off. We expand Monday, create that short-term high. Tuesday comes in, completely knocks out that short-term high, expands, and then that's where Asian and London expand overnight again. London creates that reversal, which is the Wednesday high week. We consolidate again. I'm not going to go over that again, but you get the point. After that reversal from the London reversal right there from that price delivery cycle, we drop during Wednesday, and then I think since that expansion was so large, we consolidated during Thursday, in which since that price action was so terrible for some reason, Friday obviously continued lower because that's what it's supposed to do according to the what's the word? The manipulation template, okay? In which you should understand Judah Swing already, in which you should have watched the Judah Swing standalone video and the first portion of Narratives Arcana. So you should have saw every form of Judah Swing that I didn't directly go over, but you should have saw the Judah Swing or each Judah Swing that formed in every price delivery cycle we've gone over. This was a pretty long video. I have a lot to edit out, but I think I dropped some pretty good amount of knowledge here. We went over another example just to train your mind and drill yourself into, learning and knowing this model so you'll be able to use it efficiently and effectively. And I'll be in this video here. There's not much to really talk about. Okay, let me just shut up and end the video. Good luck and good trading.